So let's categorize people into two broad groups. We have people that set goals, the goal setters, people that like to have a defined goal. They move towards that goal, they achieve it, and then they'd like to set another goal and move through life that way, constantly going from goal to goal to goal. Then we have another group who we might call free spirits, people that don't set defined goals. They move through life based on intuition, feelings, a desire to learn new skills, and they kind of meander through life as opportunities open up in front of them. And of course, neither category is right or wrong, but we normally find that we will fit into one or the other. I generally work with goal setters, the first group, people that have a defined goal. And what I'll do today is part of talking about New Year's resolutions and how we might set these and achieve them. I'll show you the approach that I'll take when a client comes and wants help setting a goal and then moving on to achieve it, which is essentially what I do in my coaching practice. So one of the things we'll do in the first session is I'll ask the client what is the goal they have. Do they have a defined goal? And I'll ask them to give me that goal as a clear, concise statement. Now, sometimes what I'll get is 5 minutes of vague conversation. The person has a lot of ideas about the goal, and that's great, but as yet, there's not a very concise, clear description, if you like, of where they want to go, what they want to achieve. So one of the first things we'll do is try and clarify the goal. And the second thing that we'll do, maybe at the same time, is to lift the goal. And by lifting the goal, I'll talk to them about optimizing or trying to lift that goal to be the highest goal that they believe is reasonably possible for them. And you might ask, why would you do that? Why is it up to me to impose my will or my change on a client's goal? And that's a fair question. There's a few answers to that. Firstly, a lot of us will constrain ourselves with practicalities that can easily be mitigated or removed. And I think it's part of my job as a high performance coach to help open people's eyes as to what is really possible for them and to help them strive for the highest possible place that they can. The second reason is that by setting a goal, a very lofty goal, we will have to work very, very hard to achieve it. And that in itself gives the client benefit because, there's a saying that we shouldn't set goals based on what we're going to get after achieving the goal, but based on who achieving that goal will make of us. So the fact that it is going to be a very difficult journey will help define who we become and give us a further depth of character and give us further strength, which is all part of our journey of growth. So two basic areas. We'll look to lift the goal to the highest possible level, and we'll look to clarify it so it can be described in a very short statement, maybe 1 or 2 sentences. When we're lifting the goal, one of the things that I'll ask the client to do, if it's a 5 to 10 year kind of medium-term goal, is to describe what their ideal average day would look like in the future. And this helps them to clarify what they want in their life, what kind of balance they want, how much time they want with family and friends versus walking in nature versus working at the goal, what kind of freedom they'd like to have, what budget, what compensation, what money they need to have in their life to make them free to do something or free from something. So describing your ideal average day is a great way to start. When they come back at me with what their ideal average day is, I listen for certain words. And one of the things that I'm listening for are words of mediocrity. So if they say, it'd be great if this happened, or this would be really nice, that's not good enough. What I want them to describe is their exceptional, highest possible average day that they can imagine. I want them to describe and strive for an exceptional life. One of the things that will follow from this is a question, which is, how much are you prepared to sacrifice to get this? And although it might be nice to strive for the highest possible goal, it may be impractical because what they would have to give up would be to the detriment of their overall family situation. For example, they may have to give up too much time and therefore would miss a lot of time spent with their wife and their children. Or a woman might have a very, very lofty professional goal, and I will help her clarify exactly what that is, but then she'll also tell me that she would like to have children and grow a family. And the sacrifice overall to achieve that goal may need to mean that that goal needs to be tempered somewhat. So these are all things that will need to be looked at. If you have someone that has very few constraints in their life, then for sure I will be pushing them to set the highest possible goal, the highest ideal that they can come up with. And as a high performance coach, I'm an absolute believer that all of us have virtually infinite potential. That if we can visualize us doing something, if I can visualize myself doing something in 5 years, then for sure it is possible, because our mind seems to have a natural filter, and it will filter out things, and it will not present things to us to daydream about that are not possible. But if you're contemplating something, if you can picture yourself doing something, then for sure it is within your capability, provided you're prepared to go through the process that we'll talk about in later videos to achieve it, as long as you're willing to put the work in. So, lifting the goal and clarifying it. What we'd like by clarifying the goal is a clear statement. And the reason we want a clear statement is that we're going to need to contemplate this goal, this precise destination, over and over and over again through the months and the years that it takes to eventually reach the top of that particular mountain, whatever it may be. Having a precise destination gives us focus and it gives us energy. As I've said before, when I'm currently in Chicago, sitting up in the middle of the night local time, talking to you, but when I left Hong Kong 2 days ago to fly to Chicago, I did not aim to land somewhere in North America. As soon as I stepped on board that aeroplane in Hong Kong and started preparing that A350, everything was focused on arriving at the precise terminal in Chicago 14 hours later. We knew precisely where we were going, and that gives us focus through the journey to come back on course and redirect our efforts to hit that precise location. So having a precise goal is important if you are a goal-setting type of person. So in a previous video, I also talked about the way we achieve goals is to firstly define it, and then we want to see it, we want to act, and we want to feel. So we'll talk a little bit more about the seeing, the acting, and the feeling over the next couple of weeks. But for now, that's how I would approach defining the goal with a coaching client of mine, and maybe something in that will help you with your New Year's resolutions or your own 5-year plan. I quite literally visualized my way into an F-18 cockpit. Becoming a fighter pilot was a goal that I set for myself at a young age, and I focused on that, and I replayed that picture of me flying that airplane over and over again before it became a reality. Recently, we talked about how to manifest or how to achieve goals, and this can be a New Year's resolution, it can be your 5 to 10 year plan. And today, I'll talk about the very, very important and critical component of achieving goals, which is visualizing yourself in that position, in that new reality, in advance of it actually happening. So there's 2 types of visualization that I've needed to use over the years of my flying training and achieving other things in my private life. And these have been tactical visualization, which is short-term rehearsal of specific motor skills or specific situations. Things like rehearsing yourself in a running race, rehearsing a sales presentation. In my case, rehearsing the specific controls that I need to activate, the switch selections inside airline or fighter aircraft cockpits. Tactical visualization is critical in helping embed new motor skill sequences or new skill sets before we actually go and perform them on the playing field of life. The second type of visualization, and one that's important for you when you're trying to achieve goals, is what I call strategic visualization. And this is replaying a picture of yourself having achieved this new reality over and over and over again before you actually achieve it. And this essentially brainwashes you into believing that you have already got this thing, and that helps us to act in a way which will bring the thing about. So how do we do this? When I was a 12, 13-year-old kid and I decided to become a fighter pilot, there was two different types of pictures that I would play over in my head. The first one was me standing in my backyard in my very small town in southern Australia and watching myself up in the sky flying over the town in an F-18. I played that picture over and over again, but I would also play the picture from the perspective of me in the cockpit of the F-18 looking down on myself. So there was these two different ways, this first person and this third person picture playing that I would replay over and over and over in my head. And around 10 years after I started playing those pictures, I flew over the town in an F-18, exactly the same flight path, altitude, everything was precisely as I had visualized it all those years before, thousands of times. So we're reflecting back on this now. This was the first time that I used this power of manifestation, this power of visualizing something to bring it about, to acting now as if we already have the thing. The second time that I used this actively in my life was when I was coming up for my command course as an airline pilot, and I didn't deliberately know what I was doing, but again I kind of played this picture over in my head. I pictured myself sitting in the flight deck of an A350, taking an A350 full of passengers and crew from Hong Kong off to Europe, which for me was why I joined an airline. That was the goal, to be the captain of an international airliner flying to Europe. I also pictured myself from in the corner of the flight deck looking down on myself in the third person. And again, like I did when I was a teenager, I used this first person and this third person perspective to watch myself performing in this new role. The way I actually did this was I would do this as I was drifting off to sleep at night, and I'd do this 3 or 4 times a week. And at the time, this was almost 10 years ago, it wasn't a deliberate way that I was trying to go through to manifest this particular goal. This was just something that I found enjoyable, and it was like just me meditating on and contemplating this new reality that I wanted. So relax yourself, be it first thing in the morning, sit on the sofa, do some breathing exercises, do some meditation for 5 or 10 minutes, and then just start playing this picture over. Picture yourself in the first person performing in the new role and in the third person. A really, really cool way that I had this explained to me, I think through a YouTube video I was watching, was to think of yourself walking into a movie theater and sitting down in the second or third row in front of a very big screen. On that screen, play the video of yourself, play the movie of your new future reality you desire. And at the start, the details won't be there and the colors maybe won't be that bright. But as you play this over and over again, you'll start to be able to build more detail and richer colors. And then eventually you'll be able to feel the feelings associated with this new reality as well. So just play this over on this big screen. Then get out of your seat in the movie theater and walk into the screen and now play the same scene back, but looking through your own eyes. So look through your own eyes and go through that same scene again, whatever that scene is. Like me, it was preparing to take an airliner off to Europe from Hong Kong, or flying an F-18 over my hometown. Whatever the scene is for you, picture yourself in ever-increasing detail and color and vibrancy performing in this new role, in this new reality. So to sum up, there's tactical visualization, which is rehearsing short-term events, preparing your mind and your body to carry out a complex task. And there's strategic visualization, where we rehearse watching this picture, where we watch this movie play, both in the third person and in the first person, of us in this new reality. Both of those things have been exceptionally important for me as I've gone through and achieved the things in my life that I've set my mind on, and I think these will also be of use to you. As we talked about, to achieve any goal, make sure it's very clear and very concise. It's a precise destination you are moving towards in the future. Then see it over and over again. Play the movie. Watch the movie of yourself performing in that role. That's what we've discussed today. Next, we'll move on acting it, how to act now like we've already achieved it, and then finally feeling it. The last piece of the puzzle, feeling the feelings associated with that. So clear and concise goal, see it, act it, feel it. I hope that helps you achieve your goals, be them New Year's resolutions or your 5 to 10 year plan. In a previous video, we talked about how to achieve big, almost impossible goals. We need to clearly define the goal. We need to see it, act it, and then feel it. We've already spoken about the seeing it, the visualization process, picturing yourself in this new reality, both in the first person and from a third person perspective, watching yourself kind of like on a movie screen, performing in this new role. Today, we're going to talk about how to act like this person in the future, because this is a very important part of ensuring that we're going to make all the critical decisions and that we become the kind of person that the universe naturally plants in that position. So how do we do this? I'll give you a practical tool today on how to do this, and it can be used both for yourself and if you're leading a team. You can apply the same tool to what your team does. We want to act as though we've already achieved this thing. And this is pretty obvious. Like Michael Phelps, when he was aiming to become an Olympic champion, didn't wait until he won the gold medal before he started acting like a champion. We need to act now, each day, as though we already are that person that has that thing that we want. So the tool is called plus minus zero. What we want to do is list every conscious decision that we make throughout the day, write them all down, list them 1 to 20, 1 to 15, doesn't matter. And against each conscious decision that you make, put a plus, a minus, or a zero. A plus means that that action is what the person in the future should be doing. It is contributing towards you achieving that goal, or it is how that person would be acting. A minus means that honestly you know that it's detracting. It's actually acting as a barrier or a constraint towards you achieving that, or that you know that that's actually not how that person that achieves that thing that you want would be acting today. And a zero, it's something that doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter either way. So list every conscious decision and every conscious act that you make during the day and put a plus, a minus, or a zero against each one. And then it's a simple matter of going down the list and looking at the minuses and changing them, changing that habit, changing that time you wake up, changing what you wear to work, changing who you're hanging out with, to ensure that everything you do is contributing towards you achieving that goal in the future. And this can be worked in the same way for a team. So if you're running a team and you have a very ambitious goal, you want the team to be acting now as though they have already achieved that thing in the future. So let's use a couple of examples. Firstly, a personal example. Let's say you're the head of a department, but you want to achieve a C-suite position. There's 20 heads of departments in your organization, and there's only a few C-suite positions. You want Chief Operating Officer. So what we do is we come down and list all of the things that we do during the day and ask ourselves, is that what a Chief Operating Officer would be doing? Am I acting now in a way that shows the universe that I am that person? I am the only one suitable for that Chief Operating Officer position. And this might mean that you need to change who you're socializing with. It might need to change that you need to stop dressing like a head of a department and start going to work looking like a Chief Operating Officer. It's a very, very useful way to get an objective assessment of how we're going as we're progressing towards this goal. So that's how we would do it as an individual. As a team, let's say that we have a sports team and we're trying to win the championship. We don't just want to just kind of float along and hope for the best. What we want to do is we want to look at the attributes of a championship team. Let's say we want to win the division. What kind of teams win the division of the sport that we're playing? What do they do each day? How do they train? What is their nutrition like? What time do they arrive for training? Are they late? Are they 5 minutes early? Do they do extra training sessions? How do they debrief? All of these kind of things, you can go through everything that this team does and put a plus, a minus, or a 0 against it, and then really work together as a team on minimizing or eliminating those minuses. So to sum up, to achieve any big goal, we want to clearly and concisely define it. We want to see it. We want to play that picture of us having achieved it already over and over in our heads. We want to act as though we are that person or that team already. And then lastly, we'll talk about in a future episode how we want to feel, how we can kind of feel the emotions associated with achieving that goal. When we're visualizing this new reality that we want, we must feel the gratitude for having achieved it. To achieve your New Year's resolution or to achieve your 5-year plan, whatever the big, ambitious goal is that you have, there is a process, and we've talked about this in the last few videos, which I'll link down below. We must clearly and precisely define what we want. We must see it, act it, and feel it. Today we're going to talk about the last point, how to feel it. So firstly, we need to get ourselves playing that movie and watching ourselves in this visualization process of us having achieved this new reality, acting out what we're going to be doing in the future once we have achieved what we've desired. We've talked about the importance of that, playing that picture over and over again. We must act now like the person acts that has achieved that thing that we want. We must become that person in advance. The last piece of the puzzle is feeling it. When we're visualizing this new reality that we want, we must feel the gratitude for having achieved it. We must attach emotion to that future state. And this more strongly and deeply embeds this new reality, this new state of being inside of us, so that over time we move towards that new reality that we want. So to summarize again, to achieve anything, to achieve any ambitious goal that you can conceive, you must clearly and concisely define it. You must see it over and over in your head. You must act now like you already have it, and you must feel the feelings associated with performing in that new role, or being that new person, or having that new thing. So when you're mentally rehearsing having this thing, feel the gratitude, feel the feelings that you would feel if you had it. And this helps to embed the belief that you are that person that achieves that thing. I'll put links to all episodes that we've talked about this process down below. I wish you all the very best in achieving your almost impossible goal.